7 a.m. Yes, Mr. Hanson, this is the gentleman that was just at your door who you refused to open the door or talk with.
This phone call was made by a debt collector to a laid-off executive who had fallen behind on his car payments.
And if you refuse to answer the door to me, I guarantee you I will wake up every neighbor in your entire building. Okay, and I'll let everybody know you don't know how to pay your bills. Now, next time I knock on your door, jackass, open it, you
Welcome. I'm Brian Ross, Chief Investigative Correspondent for ABC News. And today, the shocking tapes of how some debt collectors go about their business, how they treat Americans who have fallen behind on their bills. With a record number of Americans in debt, there are a record number of complaints to the Federal Trade Commission about the tactics of debt collectors. Listen to these calls provided to us by consumers and their lawyers.
First of all, ma'am, that was pretty ignorant, but I wouldn't expect anything less from you because you are totally ghetto. Second of all, ma'am, learn English, get an education. Since you're sitting on your fat derriere all day long.
Hey, Greg, you got my breakfast ready? Where's my biscuits and orange marmalade and sausage? Where's my $40,000 that you owe me? Or I guess I'm going to have to call this other phone number I got. See if your ex-girlfriend can get in contact with you. We'll see if we can't get her riled up enough to get you riled up to get you on the telephone. You make the decision. You want to be a man, or you want to hide behind a telephone like a little bitty mouse?
You're just a loser. You're a loser. That's why you're in collections. Because you owe money you can't pay. Why don't you just go jump in front of a train? Why don't you do that? Get it over with.
That last phone call, urging suicide, was recorded by a New York man who got the proof and got a lawyer. Joseph Mauro of New York, who joins us here today. Mr. Mauro, that's an ugly call, but is it illegal?
Oh, certainly, yes. And obviously it's improper to call anybody and urge them to commit suicide, but certainly it's a violation of federal law.
What was the debt in this case?
The debt was actually a gas card. I think it was about $200, and the money was actually not owed by my client. They had the wrong person, and they called, and there were a series of phone calls besides that one. They targeted him and they harassed him.
We have a few more calls we'd like you to listen to, Mr. Mauro, involving phone calls made by debt collectors to consumers at their place of employment.
I need you to stop calling my job.
No, I'm not. Because I'm not. I'm not going to do that.
Do not call me at work. Call me at home. You've called me 7 times. You have called me 7 times at work.
Let's take the proper steps and work out with your employer. I won't call you no more. Let's speak with the payroll department. You have anything else to say?
If you do that, you will get me fired.
Whatever the case might be, if you can see it, what do I care? You're not paying the bill anyway.
What's the law on calls like that?
Completely improper and very common, notwithstanding the industry's statements otherwise. Calls to employers, threat to calls to employers, threats to call the neighbors, extremely common. And I would say it is the practice rather than the exception.
Wow, now listen to these calls in which debt collectors falsely imply consumers can be arrested or sent to jail.
Because I'll put your ass in jail.
Do you want to go to the big house?
The what?
Big house. That's what they call prison in America. Am I going to be arrested for this?
Of course you will.
I will?
Of course you will.
Okay.
Of course you will.
Are people arrested for not paying their debts?
Virtually non-existent in America. And that is also a very common threat. Threat of arrest, threat of seizing property when they really can't do it. Anything they can do to get into the debtor's head is what they do. And it's particularly when the consumer does not even owe the debt, it is not only offensive but absolutely illegal.
Now, the debt collection industry told us such calls are rare and that the industry goes to great lengths to train and monitor its debt collectors. Is that true? If people just paid their bills, by the way, they wouldn't have to suffer through these calls, would they?
Well, first of all, that's nonsense. They are motivated by one thing, and that's money. It is a cost-benefit analysis. They will take these lawsuits because they make more money from harassing the clients, the consumers, than they pay out in these lawsuits. And it is also, it is completely disingenuous to say that it is the rare exception. You see the same companies targeted time after time, and they are big companies. These are not small mom-and-pop shops with one guy in a basement. These are large, multi-million-dollar companies that have honed their craft to the point that they will target the weak and they will collect their money.
Mr. Mauro, some free advice for people watching this. What should they do if they get targeted by these debt collectors and it goes over the line like this?
They should get an attorney, and if it reaches the level of physical threats, they should call the police. And if their law permits it in their state, they should record these people.
The tapes help.
The tapes help. The debt collectors will leave voicemail messages. Those messages should not be erased. The consumers should keep every piece of paper that they receive, and they should contact an attorney.
Mr. Mauro, thank you very much for being here. Continuing coverage and updates on this story can be found on our website called The Blotter, located at abcnews.com. I want to hear what you have to say about our reports. Send us your video comments or questions. Just go to the Brian Ross and the investigative team website at abcnews.com and click on Ask Brian Ross. For all of us at the ABC News investigative team, thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon on the web.
Go to abcnews.com anytime for Brian Ross and the investigative team. The reporting never stops at abcnews.com.
The president was hit. He is in stable condition.
It is the worst disaster in the history of the American space program.
I've never seen a royal wedding like this.
O.J. Simpson wanted on 2 counts of murder.
Relive the most dramatic days in history with ABC News. Download The Day It Happened today at iTunes.